Hey everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Miller's Military Moments, and this one, episode 32, Season 1 recap and Season 2 preview. Episode 32 episodes. I am humbled, shocked, excited, all of it really. When I started this, I just had no idea, honestly, how it was going to go, where were we going to go, where I was going to end up. So this is pretty exciting that I'm doing a Season 1 recap, but also previewing Season 2. So really cool. But before we get into that, hey, don't forget about my website. You can find me at millersmilitarymoments.com, and that is the best place to find not only the episodes, links to the episodes, you can listen to them right there on the website with the Buzzsprout media player. You can find the links to my YouTube channel if that's your preferred viewing and listening to the show. And you can read the show notes that often have pictures with, from the stories and episodes. And there's a blog page on there that I'm going to start utilizing even more coming up soon. So there's lots of content on there. And, also you can, there's a link to my Twitter on there, which I'm pretty active on, and also my Patreon. So you can just click that and go right to the Patreon page, which is pretty exciting as well. Some of the things that we've got coming up with that. And the Patreon, even if you don't find the link there, you can go to www.patreon.com/Miller's Military Moments, and you'll find my page. And there's several tiers that you can choose from to support me and the podcast. So, and they're named after military Army ranks. So we've got the sergeant category, the staff sergeant category, and the first sergeant tier. And then we also have a special tier called the general tier, and it's pretty expensive. There's no reason for most people to probably do that one, but hey, that's okay. There might be somebody out there that wants to do it, but there'll only be 5 of you. But hey, there's lots of great content and stuff coming up in the future in Season 2, which we're going to talk about today. So a lot of great reasons to support on Patreon, not only the financial side of it, but the financial side of it helps me pay for my website, pay for all the technical stuff, which I'm getting ready to upgrade here shortly, and then also some of the marketing things to help and continue to bring you great content and stuff. So I really appreciate all that, and we've had a few supporters already on Patreon, and plus there's some merchandise coming with it too. Right now I have a sticker with my logo on it, so you can get a sticker after you've been a member for a few months. So anyway, check that out. And on Twitter, Miller_, that's me. So can't do Miller time, anything like that. So it's a trademarked phrase. But anyway, all right, so let's move into Season 1 recap. So here's some stats for you stat junkies, which I'm a stat junkie. Well, actually, before I get into the stats, I want to take a minute and really a couple minutes and say a really sincere, heartfelt thank you to a lot of people. And, the first thank you is to my immediate family, my wife and my son, who, have not only supported this endeavor, but have just, really given me great feedback, helped me with ideas, but gave me the courage and the confidence to continue doing this. And without their support, you all know, without your immediate family support, it's really hard to put your heart and soul into anything. So they have supported me, and so they get the first thank you. And it's just been incredible what I've been able to experience doing this. So thank you to my wife and son, and to my family, my other family, my in-laws, my dad. They I appreciate all the feedback and the comments, about the episodes. Sometimes, they give me like technical feedback, like, well, this video didn't work that well, or, maybe you could have explained it this a little bit better, which is just awesome, because if I don't know, what needs to be fixed, then I can't fix it and make it better for you all. So thank you all for, that support, for doing this, and also the feedback, the constructive criticism, if you will, for me to help make it better. And, and then a lot of friends, that have really supported me with, comments and messages of saying, hey, dude, this is awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this. These stories are great. Or, hey, tell me about this thing or that thing. Some of the veterans which I did not anticipate as many veterans wanting to listen to the show and liking the show, because they've already lived it. And so I was thinking that the main audience would be, civilians who had never served and they're learning about the military. But what I have found is that many of my battle buddies and my teammates are enjoying the stories that they lived, because it's bringing back some memories for them, which I'm glad I've been able to do. So hearing the comments and of support and encouragement from you all has just been really amazing, and giving me more and more confidence to continue to do this and tell these stories, tell your stories. I mean, they're not just mine. I mean, I sometimes try to call myself the everyday soldier, because a lot of these stories everybody has experienced. We just haven't been able to tell them to everybody. So it's been a privilege to even start this journey, and you all are, keeping me going and giving me that confidence and support. And then when you all share my posts and you share, emails, and you send it to your friends and family, that just means a lot to me, because if you're personally recommending something to someone, it's more valuable to them than, if they're reading it on Yelp or, Google or whatever. So, that means a lot. And I know a lot of you are out there doing that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And then thank you to several podcasters. So the podcasting family is pretty cool. It's similar to the streaming family. For those that, stream video games or watch that, there's some pretty good people out there, lots of great support. And, just to name a few that have really just, been big supporters of mine and helped me kind of, grow on Twitter and also grow my listening family, Pixie with Next on Stage 1, Jav, a Decent Take Show, Pollyanna with Buried Pleasures, Wanda, and I'm drawing a blank on her show right now. Shame on me. I need to look that one up, and I will. She invited me on her show just recently, and has given me some great stuff on my show. So that's, I appreciate all of that. And, they just been a big part of just kind of helping, that constructive criticism and bringing me on their shows, or, telling me what's good and what's not maybe so good about my show, what I could do different, and what I could do different with marketing and stuff. And then, Jay Anxious Podcast is another big one. I got connected with him kind of early. And then, of course, Grant Belvin out there has been, he's not a podcaster, but big supporter out there, and, done a lot for me. So, thank you. And then, Local Neighborhood Babies, another one, stressed, depressed, and anxious. So that's her show. She, we had a 2-hour show that I think she's releasing, or by the time you hear this, it'll have already been released, but 2-hour show, but we ended up talking for like 4 hours. It was just a great time, discussing all kinds of things in the world. Wanda's show, From Words to Ideas. So she brought me on and allowed me to talk about a whole lot more than just my military service, and which is really cool. So thank you all. I know I've missed some people, but it's not intentional. But I appreciate you, and thanks for all the support, the encouragement, and the confidence to continue to tell my story, to tell our story which is just really cool. All right, so season 1 recap for all you stat junkies, which part of that's me. I like the stats and stuff like that. So 32 episodes. You know, when I started this, I didn't know if I was going to do a season. How do you define a season? You know, this isn't an easy topic to figure out. Okay, I'm just going to do 10 episodes. So I ended up stopping it at 32 because it was the right time to do it, the amount of time we covered. And so when I'm looking at season 2, I broke it down into another time block, and then I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but it's pretty interesting. So 32 episodes, over 1,400 downloads. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. The first few months, sure, there's people with much more, there's people with less, but it's not about comparing myself to others. It's just really exciting that there's that many downloads on the show in season 1, and I'm excited about that. 6 different continents. Hey, if I could market to penguins, it would be on 7, but I can't quite figure that out, or how to get penguins to listen. So top cities, Atlanta is the top city that is listening in the United States. Fort Bragg is number 2, and Homewood, Illinois is number 3. So the thing about some of the cities is it depends on where the server is what gets credit for the city that listened to it. So I don't know exactly where Homewood, Illinois is, if it's near Chicago. I've never looked it up. I know there are several listeners up in Chicago, but that might be where most of those listens are coming from. So kind of interesting. Hey, top app. This might shock some of you, maybe not, but Spotify is the top app of people who listen to my show on, 26%, and Apple was second with 21%. Mobile, I think that's pretty obvious, was the number 1 device listened to, 82%. So most people listen to podcasts while they're on mobile, whether it's in their car or they're out, exercising or in the garden or whatever it is they do. So yeah, those are some of the big stats. My most downloaded episode, which it's kind of an interesting metric because most downloaded, yes, over this entire time is my intro. So it's my first episode, and it's 137 downloads. And if the reason it's interesting is because, it almost goes like that in the first one is the most downloaded, the second one is the second most downloaded, and so on and so forth. There are some, irregularities in there, but over time, that's just kind of how it goes. But one of the metrics the podcasting industry looks at is really how many downloads do you have in the first 7 days? And that kind of determines where you stack up. And so right now the number is about 28. If you have 28 episodes downloaded, or 28 show downloads of that show in the first 7 days that it's been live, you're in the top 50% of all podcasts, which there's millions out there. So and so mine, I have the highest one with that is actually episode 30, coming home from Iraq. So it's well over 28 downloads in the first 7 days, which I don't know if that's surprising or not surprising. But there definitely were some, other seemingly popular episodes. The first 60 days of Fort Hood was another highly downloaded one. The one on PTSD and suicidal ideations, where I kind of opened up and told y'all some of my past experiences, was another big downloaded story. And so those were kind of the big ones. But yeah, so kind of interesting hearing, learning those stats and looking them up and stuff like that and sharing them. So Apple Podcasts people, you need to get on it. People are listening through Spotify. So, but no, anyway, it doesn't matter to me, just as long as people are listening and enjoying it and, having a great time. So, some of the highlights when we really look at basic training, we talked about that. Going through basic training, the first 60 days at Fort Hood, which we talked about. That was just, when I told that episode and that story, And when I look back at it at any time, that was a crazy 60 days. I mean, it was just insane, honestly. Motor pools and railheads. Some of you may not even have known what those were, but we talked about those. Saying goodbye to my family, heading on a deployment that I had no idea if I was going to come home from or how long I was going to be gone. Invading Iraq in 2003 and going through all those challenges, and thought I was going to die on the side of the road when I was taking a poop. So stories like that. We covered. Talked about swimming in Saddam's pool, which was, really cool and an interesting thing. Not a lot of people have done that. Talked about being on DART, downed aircraft recovery teams, and some of those really challenging missions. Talked about my PTSD and some of the challenges. So I kind of, went way ahead of my time and talked about those just because I wanted to be honest and open. And if my story can help others deal with some of these mental health challenges, I wanted to kind of tell that story early. But and then, coming home from Iraq was really, we kind of finished up there and dealing with all of those challenges of being home and, what comes with that. And if we have certain issues, how do we get help? So we talked about that. And then, of course, we had Grant Belvin's story. I mean, I had no idea, honestly, how that was going to go. And it, we did one episode and then we talked about doing a couple more. And then we really laid out a plan, and we thought we were going to get it all done in like 3 episodes, and we ended up doing 7, which is fantastic. And something that another podcaster told me early on, when you're looking at time of your episode, you can look at some of your analytics to see what is the average time people listen to it. So like if 40 minutes is kind of the time that they're listening to it, you don't want to go over, too much of that. But there's a caveat in that. You don't want to stop for the sake of time if you're in the middle of a story. And because you want, the story to flow, and especially these stories. And some of these are really tough for the individual to tell. So if they're in the moment, they're in a groove, and they're just telling that story, which goes for me as well, then you just let them go, and you keep encouraging them and asking questions and whatever the case may be. So yeah, we ended up with 7 episodes, which, I mean, if you haven't listened to those, you've got to go back and listen to his story. I mean, it's an incredible story of a young Marine and, what he went through. So I was just super glad to be able to, share his story. And then just another shout out to him. He's got his Project Capable, which we mentioned at the end of episode 7, and out there helping, people just become better and overcome a lot of their obstacles, physical health, eating, nutrition, all kinds of stuff. So really just a great human being, and some incredible stories. So that was awesome. So that was, season 1. Yeah, it's just, so much stuff, and, but interesting stuff. Some of it's boring and mundane, and, but hey, not everything in the Army or not everything that we do is, all exciting and, in direct combat and everybody's fighting and stress and, stuff like that. But so it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it, and I feel like I've gotten better at this whole podcasting thing. Over the episodes, I've changed my intro and got some music from Steve McCormick. Shout out to him. He actually has an album out, which I shared links to in the show notes and on the YouTube video, and he kind of redid one of his songs for me and added some stuff into it. So that's my intro and outro music now. But I've changed some of those things and gotten a little bit better and maybe feeling a little bit more natural. So it's been really cool. A lot of fun. Awesome season 1. So season 2, how do we top season 1, except for just some more incredible, exciting stories? Well, first I'm going to tell you what is going to be the same. So what's going to be the same is my weekly episodes. Okay, so of my story and my timeline. Now I am going to change. They're probably going to be released on Mondays and not Sundays. So that'll be one change. And no real reason except for Mondays just seem to be a little bit better day. And then, people can listen throughout the week. And then and also another change is going to come up, and I'll tell you in a second why that kind of plays into those. So that's pretty much going to be the same. I'm going to continue to tell my story. Now, the timeline, the preview of that really is going to be June 2004 to March 2007. And some of those highlights, and if you are a Patreon member, you already know this timeline because I made a Patreon only post on my Patreon site. So this is some of the information that you can get early if you are a Patreon member, which is also going to have some bonus episodes too if you are a certain level member on Patreon. So June 2004 to March 2007, I get promoted to sergeant during that time. Shortly after that, we had a downed aircraft at home at Fort Hood, which really devastated a lot of people. You don't expect to have that type of accident at home, and a lot of people died, and which was tough for us as a brigade. So I did make it over to a flight company, around in 2005. So we're going to talk about that kind of stuff. So I finally get to go, be a crew chief, what I really wanted to do in the Army. I head out to Hurricane Katrina relief. So down there for a couple weeks and get an opportunity to, support and help fellow Americans for once. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my background picture is a picture of Hurricane Katrina when I was flying over some of the houses there. You can see the devastation. So there's going to be a lot of pictures and stuff about that event for sure. Then, right after that, I deployed to Iraq as a crew chief in, early December. And then we actually left from Kuwait up into Iraq the day after Christmas and spent, 11 months there flying missions in Baghdad, in and around Baghdad. And that 06 is during the surge in Baghdad. So a lot of the episodes are going to center around that deployment. There's so many things that happened, good and bad. So many of the people that I really want to talk about, and hopefully I can bring on the show and talk about their experiences from their perspective, not just mine. So that was a very kinetic deployment compared to my first one where, I was mostly on the FOB doing maintenance. The second one, I'm a crew chief now flying all the time, all over the city in central Iraq. So a lot of things are happening and going on there. And then, of course, coming home from that deployment, and there was several events that really, I come to find out later, impacted my PTSD and kind of set the stage for some of my issues and challenges in the future, which I didn't realize at the time. But so when I got home, we moved to Virginia less than 90 days from getting home. So that was pretty quick turnaround. And I had also, in 06, I had also re-enlisted to stay in the Army, which means it must not have been too bad, right? So we re-enlisted, but we were going to Fort Eustis for 3 years up in Virginia. So we'll talk about a little bit about that. But really, season 2 is going to kind of end with me coming home and then us moving to Virginia and kind of getting there, early April, and then season 3 will pick up there. So that's kind of an overview of season 2. Some pretty exciting things going on. And so looking at some of the changes though, what's coming up for season 2 and what you can expect. And this is kind of why I'm going to release on Mondays. So one of the things I'm going to do is we're going to have soldier veteran interviews, and I don't really want to call them interviews. I'm bringing a lot of the people that I know and served with onto the show, and I'm going to, let them tell their story and, from their perspective. So that's going to be one of my midweek episodes, which really will probably be either Wednesday or Friday. And I already have several veteran teammates lined up and secured on my calendar so to record our shows. So I'm going to start bringing them on. Once a week, there's going to be that show. with the veteran telling their story. And some of it won't exactly line up with the timeline in my current one, but it's okay. I mean, because I have served with so many people over the years, but there's so many of them to tell their stories that it'll be okay. You'll enjoy it. So then the second midweek episode is going to be based on transition, people and resources. And so I'm going to bring veterans on that have either, got out of the military, retired, or even just got out after their first contract, transitioned, successfully transitioned out. And I'm going to bring on some that it wasn't so successful, meaning it was really, really difficult, and explain their difficulties and how others can learn from their difficulties and get better at it, but also bringing on the ones that have done it successfully. And they're going to tell their story about how they did it successfully and, use the resources that are out there, which there are so many that we do not learn about during our, transition program from the military. So, and the first one, I'll give you a hint. The first one is a CEO and of Vets to Industry. So there's the name. You may know him, but he's already on my calendar. This guy is just really incredible what he's doing for veterans and the stuff that he's got for transition resources. And it's absolutely incredible. So that's going to be another episode that I'm going to do every week. And, if I don't have enough people, then I won't do that one. But I have 3 of those veterans lined up that are going to come on and talk about their experiences and then the resources for a successful transition. So look, if you're getting ready to get out or retire, or even if you've already gotten out, and some of these resources are still available to you and really can help you, maybe improve your situation in your career, maybe your personal life, all kinds of things. So that's really the big changes. And then Patreon, which I've mentioned a couple times already. So Patreon, I'm going to have some bonus episodes on there. And also on certain levels of the Patreon, I'm going to do a Zoom, monthly Zoom conference call, essentially with me and everybody at that level. And essentially so that we can hang out and talk and chit chat, and you can ask me questions. You can ask me anything. And, maybe I'll bring on some of my guests, and bring them on so that you all can, have access to them and talk to them. So that's kind of a really big change. So really, if that kind of stuff interests you, definitely look at the Patreon and, see what level that is for you. And, hey, if you can't afford it, it's not a big deal. I'm not trying to push you into that, but definitely check it out. And then, right now I have the stickers that are going to go out. And then I have some options for other merchandise if enough people start to sign up and they really want some of those things, with coffee mugs or t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. So that's another thing coming up. And then the updated website. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be delayed a little bit. So season 2 is going to start. And June 7th should be the first weekly episode to drop. But my website's not going to get updated till probably mid-July, and it's because the person that's going to help me with this, she is so busy and she is booked out through then. Now, if she gets an open spot to work with me before then, I'm in and she'll start before then. But it's not going to be until then. But she's going to streamline a lot of my website, make it a little bit more mobile friendly. And we're going to have a spot on there for shout outs and links to veteran owned businesses, and even some other small owned businesses that are really supporting veterans out there. And so that it's kind of a one-stop shop that you can go to really find out some of these incredible businesses out there. And so I did it a couple times in some of my episodes, and then I put the information like in the show notes and stuff. But I want to create a little area of my website for just that, so that it's easier for you to go to and be like, oh, what businesses are these? I mean, Southern Pine Company is one of them. Great people up in near JBLM doing some fantastic things, making homemade items. And then of course, I believe it's Bloom and Bryson Construction up in Chicago area, but people like that, I want to continue to highlight them so that people can see them and use them, and they do great work. I'm not going to recommend anybody that doesn't do great work. First of all, I'm not going to recommend somebody that has a business just because they have a business. I mean, I'm going to support them if they make a good product. They're going to provide you good value, and maybe they just need a little bit more support. They don't have these huge $1 million marketing budgets. So we're going to help them out there. And then also I'm going to have a section for other podcasts and or books and stuff that I recommend that I like and I enjoy. So in case you like some of the same stuff I do, it'll be up there, and I'll, have links to it and a little description about, why I like them and why you may like them and where to go find them. So, those are going to be some of the exciting things that are on the website. And then tons of pictures and, videos, from my time deployed. There's going to be all kinds of that. So a lot of content and, a lot of stuff that you just haven't seen, honestly, from the last 20 years. So pretty excited about that too. So really, hey, that season 1 recap, season 2 preview. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I'm really excited about this. Hey, I've got a busy couple weeks coming up, but we're getting ready to move from Fort Bragg to Atlanta, Georgia, and then I get to get this stuff set up again so I can start recording and bringing you all some incredible episodes for season 2. So I'm excited to get this move done, get started, and get back recording for you all. So there will also be in the next couple weeks after this episode some outtake videos and audio that from me and Grant when we were just talking pre-show, but I recorded them, and I'm going to put that out there and let y'all hear some of those. It's some funny stuff, and you can kind of hear what we talk about pre-show. So that'll kind of maybe tide you over until season 2 officially kicks off. All right. But hey, the big thing about this show is my main focus of telling you these stories is, one, I enjoy telling you and the veterans reminiscing and, that kind of stuff, and then teaching the civilians about what we do and, what we've done and how it impacts us. But let's work on bridging the gap between the military and the civilian population. And so by sharing our stories and letting them know, what we've done and who we are will help that. And we have such a big divide in our country that we need to continue to tell our stories and get the word out there. We're not all, PTSD crazed folks that are just a ticking time bomb on a street corner. We've done some really amazing things. And I'm talking to you average people. Do you think you're just an average person? Oh, I just served 4 years. I just served 6 years. Look, you volunteered. And during a time of war, put your life on the line and, did whatever your job was amazing. Okay. And incredible. So, it's not, I just did this or I was just that. So let's continue to educate our civilian counterparts out there, and through this show is one of them. So, that's where, look, I need your help with recommending this show in episodes to your friends and family. Sharing the post from Facebook, sharing the post from Twitter, emailing, your friends and family, letting them know, hey, this is a show you'd really want to check out. Letting them know the website is probably the easiest way, or sending them a link from Apple or, Spotify. But when a recommendation comes from you, it means a whole lot more than, if they were to read something on Yelp, like I said earlier, or even Google reviews or whatever. So it's, it's a recommendation from their family or a friend that they really trust. So I ask that you do, please recommend this to your family and friends, and so we can continue to grow the show and really maybe help bridge this gap between the military and civilian population, so that they understand us better and we can understand them better as well. So please continue to do that. Hey, join Patreon for rewards, insight, etc. You'll get information earlier than others, and you may get some episodes earlier than others. So check that out again. to kind of close up here, I'm really excited if you can't tell. I'm ready to continue to do this and make great content for you guys and tell my stories, which are your stories. And so this is just really, really cool, and I'm excited. But I'm going to close out here for this episode, and then get ready to see y'all here in a couple weeks when we're back for season 2. All right, until then, be kind, be compassionate, be you. Peace.